It's Podular. Welcome back, folks. It is episode 67. It is Friday, February 13th, on our Freaky Friday shit here. And this week, got a little bit of in-between week before we hit the East Coast shows. So we said, why not? Let's knock out another edition of the Fan Spotlight series. So, before we do that, bring in my trusty co-host, Mr. Scotty Fuller. Scotty, how we doing? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Nate. Friday the 13th. Little spookiness going on today. Man, let's get right into that thought process remix, son.
I mean, okay. A lot of shit to think about right now with obviously what's your thought process, but like,
Yeah.
dude, the first place my head goes is Color Map of the Sun. That's the vibe that I get from that. Yeah,
Interesting. I love that. Yeah, very much so.
because that album was very jazz forward. It was the first album where Pretty Lights recorded his own samples,
Right.
and he recorded most, if not all, the samples down in New Orleans, which is the nation's capital for jazz. Man, just that upright bass, which we finally got to see Portal with an upright at Gates,
Sure.
translates to that like just like jazzy trip hop fusion glitch hop. It brings me back to the early 2010s, the summer
Yeah.
2014, I think that was.
Yeah, that sounds
it's
right. 13
reminiscent in
maybe.
that
Yeah.
sense. Yep.
Uh-huh. Man, I love it, man. The first place my head goes to is, ooh, are we getting a remix album?
That was
Uh,
my other thought, my friend. Yes.
which, first, I mean, let me not put the cart ahead of the horse, man. Thought process on an STS9 remix. Let's go. I mean,
Yeah.
this works. They could do. I hope there are a couple of these in the tank because we talk often about certain collaborators understanding this band a little bit better than others, and it seems thought process has kind of passed that litmus test. He seems to really get what's going on here, as far as kind of what a good STS9 remix should sound like, in my humble opinion.
I'm with you there. Like just like a certain level of element from the original song, but enough there for it to be its like own new composition.
Yes, yes.
And I've seen some people on Lounge like struggling to find the elements of Portal in there, and I'm like, I don't know what you're listening to. I'm hearing that bass line throughout the entire thing.
Well, it's
But
isolated
it's
there at the
cool to hear the
beginning.
yeah, exactly. And like then it like hits the like glitch
Hmm.
or whatever breakdown and like it's a little bit more muddled, but I think it's all still there. But really
Yeah.
cool to hear the like infusion of like the horns and everything like that. Yeah, I would say thought process certainly STS9 literate, to
Hmm.
say the least, and knows how to read the vibe of the song. Fuck man, hearing that, I'd be cool with a couple flips being in that guy's.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
man. I think if
yeah,
anybody could get a couple of swings, I would. He's proven to be an early front runner.
yeah. Any others you think would be good to be on that?
Let's go with the friend of the show, man. I want to see an official Matty O'Neill STS9 remix.
Hey, that is a
Um,
great fucking idea. Yes.
yeah, no, that should happen. That's probably my number one off the rip, just off the top of my head. Um, could be really fucking cool. Yeah, I think Maddie's my number one.
Yeah, I like where Dom's head has been at with his recent
Sure.
album. I think being kind of like shades back to that early Big G, and like he kind of seems to be on that tip a little bit at this point. And
Hmm.
I mean, he was inspired enough to share the stage with them at Gates. So there's definitely some momentum there.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think we'd all like to see a Richard Devine remix too. So,
Oh, of course. Of
we'll
course.
see. We'll see,
Just friends of
man.
the show. Just all friends of the show.
it's it's very exciting to see a remix like this. I can't remember the last
No, no,
remix.
there were no TUI remixes. Um,
Mhm.
which is pretty atypical as far as STS9 goes. Pretty much every album that they have, there's at least a couple, if not a full, like reinterpretation of it. But where a bunch of people get a swing, so I mean I think this album is kind of tailor made for that. I would love to see a full swing, a la the Peace Blaster or I'm forgetting the names of these things. What was the artifact one?
Perspectives.
Perspectives, artifact
Hmm.
perspectives. Yeah,
Yep.
I would. The Human Dream is made for that. I think that'd be really
Mm.
cool.
Um, Certainly. What would we call it? Would it be the human
Uh,
nightmare? Would it
I don't know.
be
They might have to
D
kick us a
D
point for that one, man.
the demon sleep paralysis? I don't know. I know they get mad whenever they think like, oh, it's not like actually dreaming,
Yeah,
like that's
yeah, I
not what
got
we're
it.
thinking of. Like, so that's low hanging fruit. But enough talk about that, man. Let's bring our guests in.
Yes, yes. Guys, if you are joining us for the first time today, lucky you. If I were to pick one word to describe our next guest, I wouldn't. That would be a massive disservice to who she is. You see, you can't describe Gena Nguyen in just one word, just like you can't describe STS9 in just one word. To a lucky few people, she's a mom and an aunt. To many more people, she's somewhat of a stand-in mom, a warm hug, a place of comfort for people that need it, a gentle smile, an amazing laugh, and most importantly, an absolute joy and party to be around. To friends that she's made in the STS9 community, she's an inspiration. An example of what it looks like to not only survive in the face of grief, but thrive. Gina's story is not a story of loss and pain, but a story of resilience. Her story is a story of what it looks like to build something new while honoring the legacy of a couple of angels that currently watch over her. And it's a story that we've wanted to tell on this podcast for quite some time. So join us today and welcoming Gena Nguyen to the podcast.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome, Gina. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for
Yeah.
joining us.
Yeah.
Um, well, hey, before we get into STS now, let's get into yourself, right?
Okay.
Um, where are you from? Where did you grow up? What kind of music did you love before this band ever entered your life?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm originally from Birmingham, grew up here most of my life. My mom lives like 25 minutes away from me. My sister's like 20 minutes away from me. I'm the tie-dyed one of the bunch. But few years I did live in Texas with my dad and my stepmother in high school, but I came back here. So, these are my roots. I feel safe, I guess. It's my home front. Um, and as far as like music goes, my dad, he was the musical influence in my life. We would listen to, I mean, so much 70s Earth, Wind and Fire, Hall and Oates, Yes, I mean, Grateful Dead. I mean, it was all over, but it was definitely, my dad was more of a funk and kind of groove guy. Doobie Brothers.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so like a lot of shows I've been to, of course, I'll go to those, and I'll never forget when they came, the Doobie Brothers, and forgive me for getting off, but they had the $25 tickets on Ticketmaster. And so I bought some in the spring, and I told Chris, I said, Chris, the Doobie Brothers are coming. He says, oh, Mom. I said, Chris, I said, I used to dance with my dad on his feet to their music. He was like, okay, I'll go. But yeah,
Such
we
a
all,
sweet boy that Chris is.
yeah. So,
Hey,
yeah, my
it's like
dad was a big influence with music, and that carried on with me and the appreciation. I mean, I got to see Phil Collins with him, it's just a studio. It was when that was out.
Hmm.
But big appreciation for Peter Gabriel, stuff like that. I definitely love like the 80s, the whole um shoot, what's her name? OMD, Orchestra Maneuvers in the Dark.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got a song. It's called Electricity. Just listen to it one time. I can remember being in high school listening to that in my car. But yeah, so my dad was my musical influence. Um, and, I, of course, found out about STS9, through Josh. And it was definitely bittersweet because when he started seeing them, um, we knew that he was seeing them because he went and lived with my brother-in-law in Atlanta, and he helped my brother-in-law had a lot of rental properties at that time, and him and Martin would actually help do all of that. And forgive me if I'm getting a little bit off because I just kind of
No, no, you're obviously taking us to where we're going. Before we get into kind of any of the harder stuff, talk about Josh just as a person. I mean,
oh
who was
yeah,
your
he was
son?
he was artistic. So the art gene missed me. And
Okay.
how sometimes that happens. Like my mom is an artist.
Uh-huh.
Um, she makes fabulous quilts. She can also draw. I can remember seeing some of her paintings like in the 70s because we had this basement, but she would paint stuff. And I remember some of her paintings being there. My sister can paint and she can create stuff. Josh was an artist. And
Okay.
so, I cultivated that and helped him inspire with that. And so he ended up going to the School of Fine Arts. And I remember when he had to have, I forgot how many pieces he had to have, but he had definitely, it was an eclectic bunch of stuff. And one of the things that he made was a duct tape wallet. And it was like the coolest thing. And I remember when he went in there to go and show all of his stuff, he came walking out and he was like, Mom, I don't think I'm going to get in. He said, there's stuff. I said, Josh, I said, there is no such thing as bad art. I said, theirs is just a different perspective. And I said, your art is cool. And I said, you always believe in that. And needless to say, he ended up getting in the School of Fine Arts.
Sure. Sure.
But I always, I was very artsy fartsy around. That's why I like to call myself artsy fartsy. We had a cabinet that was dedicated to nothing but arts and crafts. And I had this old farmhouse table. I got it from, shoot, what was the name of that store? It was one of those stores that, is no longer here, but they had the standard farm table and a lot of people had it. But um, I let them paint all over it. And my husband, he asked me one time, he says, I don't understand why you let the boys paint on the kitchen table. He says, why do you do that? I said, because my mother never let me.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, it was just like one of those things just for them to be kids and have fun. Like Sam, one of his parties was BYOT. We did all kinds of fun. Birmingham's got a great little art scene and like the music and art scene, especially like the past 10 years to see it take off and so many great bands from here. But, he was just, he was an artist and, always supported that. And then somebody showed him how to do wire wrap jewelry and he started doing that. He
Okay.
keep on reaching out to like all these different people, like Alan Dean, James Stefan, and I've got pieces from then and like
Yeah.
different rocks because there was a little time after Josh had passed, and my mental therapy was buying rocks. Yeah, yeah, solid.
Sure. No. Ain't nothing
um,
wrong with that.
but I've got some really nice pieces from both of them.
Hmm.
But he started doing that, and I got
Who
lost from
introduced who
then.
introduced him who introduced him to STS-9?
My nephew Martin.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so he went. There was after he graduated, he went and lived with them for the summer, and then he carried on into the fall too. But like I said, my brother-in-law had rental properties, and he was like changing the flooring and all that. So he would pay Martin and Josh in Vietnamese sandwiches and food and other. But Martin introduced Josh to so many different bands, such a wonderful jam band family in Atlanta. Shout out
Yeah.
to the Panda family. There's
Yeah.
a lot of great people. I got to do a few hoot nannies and that Martin invited me. Well, one of the bands there, Copious Jones, they're no longer, but Critter, who is a
Okay.
fabulous guitar player. And I'm still friends with Mikal as well. He was their lead singer and guitar player as well. I got lost for a minute.
No,
Forgive me.
you're all good. You're all good. Just circling back to Josh,
Mm.
when so he starts seeing the band in the year 2011, correct?
Yes, yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
and it at when he starts singing the band, did you have any idea
No,
what?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I knew that him and Martin were having their little secret cousin adventures, but I
Okay,
didn't. We all have Cousinville. That's what I
I
call it.
I mean, in terms of just what this band would eventually mean to him or your family. I
Right.
mean,
Yo,
when
no, for sure. No, we most definitely did because, he started bringing them up then, but then in 2012, he had actually brought them up and told me, it's like, Mom, man, I saw this band and they were, amazing. I know he went to Counterpoint. Was it Counterpoint that year? Because he
yeah,
was going through chemo at that time, and they played at Counterpoint. In fact, I had this picture of him, and whenever we have like a quick second, I'll go. I've actually got the picture framed in my bedroom, but it's him like on his birthday, and he's just like in a moment, just listening to the music. And I remember it was titled "Birthday Boy," but he's just
Mhm.
like in a moment at Counterpoint, that year.
yeah, I
Um,
was there. I was there. That was Alana's first Atlanta show ever.
mhm.
Uh-huh.
You know what? No, it wasn't Counterpoint. I take that back. It was All Good. What am I thinking? Because it was 2013 that he went to All Good. Now,
Okay.
yes, and I'm not sure if STS9 played All Good, but he did go to Counterpoint that year as well. But I'm not sure if STS9 played there.
2013 they did not. 2014 they did.
But they,
And it was a different location.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but he started seeing them with Martin, and he ended up, um, he started experiencing problems. And then it was like in 2012, he had told me, he was like, Mom, he was like, my back's, or at the end of 2011 into 2012, he's like, Mom, my back's been bothering me. I said, well, it kind of sounds like you have a kidney infection. And of course, he went to our regular physician, and he, he ended up going through a couple rounds of steroids, went through some pain medicine. And I was like,
Okay.
yeah, and that didn't help. So then we took him back in. Of course, that's when we found out. And that was in March. He got his diagnosis in March of 2012. Um, and at that time, we knew how much he loved music and how much he was into it and how happy
Hmm.
it made him. So, if he wanted to go, we always supported that. I did question him at first. I had to do the mom thing, like, do you think this is a good idea to get out of chemo and like jump on the road and go see Widespread Panic?
Yeah.
Like, like and his oncologist at the time didn't think that Josh needed a port. But anyways, that's a whole other story. But he didn't have a port or anything. I think that's probably because he didn't have one, was because Josh was such on the go, and apparently they're easy. They can get infected. So, he'd get up and take
Especially at a
off.
widespread panic show, let's be
Yeah, no,
honest.
he did. In fact, when they played Widespread Panic that summer, they played at Alvaretta also, because we were at Martin's dad's house staying at that time, because Josh had been getting chemo there. And uh, he ended up, coming back to the house because he was tired, and he had this sweet little girl. She was so sweet to Josh. She made him so happy. But he brought her back to Bernard's house. I remember Bernard saying, he said, she's really pretty. Like, who is she? They were so happy for Josh. um, but yeah, he had, so many different musical adventures, and, whatever he wanted to do, we just supported that and let him do it, and, there were different turning points where it got to that where, we found out that Josh was terminal right before the 420 festival,
Hmm.
which he had invited me the day before. And I felt so, so honored, because even though I was like the musical influence for my children, he was 20 years old, and I'm not cool to a 20-year-old when it's your mother. Y'all take yourselves back to your 20-year-old selves. Mom was not cool,
No, I
so
mean,
Probably not till like 25. That's where mom starts
exactly.
to be cool again. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know. You're kind of one in a million when it comes to when it comes to moms. So I wouldn't be surprised if your kids thought you were cooler a little later into their
I don't
teens.
know. Like I always, I'm like my mom, like, you don't know what you're talking about, and then later on, I was like, sorry, Mom.
For sure. For
you know,
sure.
Um, well, let's talk about that. I have a hard enough time getting up for night three after a hangover of a 3 night run.
that's
But
gonna
you
be a
talk
hard.
you talk about him finishing chemo and immediately leaving town for shows. What did
Mhm.
that teach you about who he was as a person?
um, his resilience. And also, one thing that I found out later is that one of his super nice friends, and I love Leonard to this day, he didn't even know Josh had cancer, because Josh did not want to be known as a cancer kid. He'd put that
Mm-hmm.
ball cap on, and people just thought he had a bald head, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he just kept on going. And it was just like he was going to keep on going until he, he didn't feel like going anymore, and then he'd take a rest and get back up. So,
Wow.
for us as parents, just to see him do that and just living life, we, like I said, we always supported that. The whole family did. My family, his family, and what was really interesting is, so they have, it's called the Dream Foundation, and that's for adults. So Josh was considered an adult, at that time. And it's kind of like, what's the one that they have for kids? The Wish Foundation, maybe?
Make a wish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Make a Wish. Well, they have
Oh, okay.
the Dream Found, the Dream Foundation, and Josh's wish was to go to All Good that year. In fact, he had already bought tickets, but he was going to go to All Good, and he wanted to have VIP, like where he had a golf cart and all this kind of stuff, and that he was taken care of because him, and he was sick, and so we submitted that, but Josh just got sick pretty quickly, and that wasn't going to happen. And so I remember them asking me at the time, they were like, "Can we get you an iPad? Can we get you this?" I was like, Josh likes rocks. If you just, so they sent us this really cool mineral book, and it had like all these things in it. And then we would later learn that his wish had actually been granted. And the co-founder of All Good, Juniper, she sent the most beautiful card. In fact, I think it's actually still sit up here on my desk. I can't get it out, but it talks about the hummingbird, and the resilience of the hummingbird, and the infinity. And the hospice group that we used with Josh was called Infinity. And it was just like this whole beautiful, moment. But I found out the day that we knew that he was getting ready to go, Dominic's brother was actually driving up here, Bernard, and he was going to fix Josh a steak dinner because that's what Josh wanted. He says, "Wooly boy," that's what he always called him, "Wooly boy, I'm going to fix you a steak dinner." And this is Martin's dad. So he was actually driving up here, and so Dominic had called to let him know, hey, so he arrives, and he's got this box, and it's from All Good. And it's
Wow.
all of the CDs from that weekend. She had taped all of them, made this beautiful handwritten card by Affinity, the hummingbird. I can't remember it verbatim. And then it had like a bar soap. It had a tie-dye t-shirt. And what was really crazy is that we had been seeing hummingbirds around the house, and we didn't have a hummingbird feeder. So it's just like one of
Wow.
those. Yeah. So needless to say, shout out to Juniper. She ended up inviting us years later when they came back around,
Oh.
for us. Yeah. So, yeah. So, just all of that, just as his parents, it's kind of like just little ways of us letting us know, even from initially, that, he was okay. I don't think we understood that at the time. Now we do, because he gives us all these little different signs. And so, him sharing his love for music, was the best gift I could have. So when the kids were growing up on Sunday nights, and this is how I think he also got into STS9, Lotus, what's the other ones? Oh, what's Elion? He plays with the violin. He plays with,
Quixotic?
no, Elion on the violin with, shoot, what's their names? It'll come to me in a minute. But he introduced me to all these different bands that I didn't know about. And But anyways, on Sundays we would play board games, and that night there was no TV. I would light candles and have like Nag Champa burning, and it was on NPR. It's called it's John DeLaborto, and it's echoes.org, and it's all trance and ambient and world music, and basically sounds like it's TS9. It sounds like
Ah,
Lotus.
okay.
Yeah, so
Cool.
yeah, so for him to share that with me, I was like, this is echoes.org.
Yeah, that makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Locally, they come on from 7 until 10, but,
so
go ahead.
I,
Sorry.
I no, I just don't want to skirt past this part because I thought it was just when in little inside baseball of this episode, Gina was kind enough to really give us a comprehensive rundown of kind of her full STS9 story. So we had the luxury of kind of reading through it before we interviewed her. And one part that I just could not get over was that 420 Fest, and you started talking about it, and then we kind of veered off.
Oh,
Um,
forgive me.
Yeah, no, no, no. It's fine. I think that deserves a little bit of attention because I think it's just so beautiful. You found out that Josh is terminal the day before this 420 fest. You chose
Hmm.
not to tell him and you chose to go with him anyway.
Hmm.
What is going through your heart that weekend as you're kind of living in both of those realities at once?
Yeah, it was such an honor that he had invited me to go with him. So I was just living in that moment and just being with Sam. He was sitting home immediately home. Then we were trying Chris didn't come home until the week after. And I was just, but anywho's, it was myself, Sam, it was Martin, it was his sweet girlfriend. Well, she wasn't his girlfriend, but friend that was a girl. And then his friend Colton. Josh had two best friends here in Birmingham, Colton and Tyler. Um, but it was so fun just to
Are
see
you?
him.
I don't mean to cut you off. I
No,
just
no,
have a quick. How many people know? Is it just you at this
just
point?
myself and my husband.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nobody knew. I didn't tell any of them at that
Okay.
time. I just wanted him to live in the moment because I knew how much that meant to him. And I just wanted to have fun. In fact, I have all these different kind of bucket list items, but one of my bucket list items was to play on stage with a band. And Robert Randolph and the family band played that weekend, and we were sitting on the side of the stage, just chilling in the grass. I mean, like right because we got there early. We were there all day,
Sure.
um, and I ended up having henna done on my hand that day. It was fun. But Robert Randolph and the family band got up, and they had this song called "Shake Your Hips." And immediately I was like, 'cause they invited all the females up on the stage. And I looked at Josh for permission because I didn't want to embarrass him.
Sure.
And I said, I go? He says, Mom, go ahead. Dude, I got up there and I walked up to the drummer and I looked at him and I said, I need a tambourine. And I remember him just looking at me. Later on, I would find out that people say that tambourine girl is a drunk girl, but I wasn't drunk that day. But anywho's, he just looked at me like, okay. I said, this is on my bucket list. I need a tambourine. He hands me two drumsticks. Dude, y'all guys, I got up to the front of that stage and for like about 5 minutes, I was banging on those sticks. And I've got a picture. I'll send it to y'all later. But me banging on the sticks. And then after 5 minutes, I just turned back around and went to the back and got to be in between the pianist and the drummer and just got down. So, we were just living in the moment that weekend, just having the best time. That's what we did.
I'm so glad I did not let you skirt past that moment. That's an amazing story.
It was so much fun. But yeah, we just roll with the punches. Life's
Sure.
crazy. We all experience stuff. I do other stuff as well, just like y'all do today. I've got stuff going on. You've got stuff, Nate, you've got stuff. But it's just life, man. You just got to roll with it. Um, there's so many other things that I want to be to be a better person, like things that I work on, even like right now, with not saying it, out loud or anything, but it's just life's crazy and you just got to roll with it and just always be kind to people because you just never know what people are going through. And I try and, think like that, majority of the time, human nature, we can all be catty at stuff, but that's so I just anything that I've got that I can give, and it gives and it comes back. It does. It's just like one big circle. And that's the thing that's so amazing, just with music and art and people in general, you know. So thank you to y'all. Thank you for
Oh,
it. Because
Gina.
like when I started, that's like because there's been so many times I forgot which show I was going to. I might have been going to Asheville. I was because that's when y'all had Audio Angel on.
Yep.
And listen, that
Mm.
got me so pumped. That got me so pumped for that show that night. And I texted people, I was like, hey, y'all need to listen to this. This is like motivational shit.
Good shit. It was a
And
good episode.
that was good timing with the
yes,
artifact
no, and I was
celebration.
going through Horseshoe Bend I went through Horseshoe Bend and I went through Brookstown, just going on up. It's
Oh,
a nice little
so
spot.
beautiful.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
just I love to drive. That's one thing about me. Like if I'm on trips, I like driving.
Mm.
Anyways.
love it. Well, Just first, just thank you to you. I mean, like I never knew Josh, and I think about him often, and I grew pretty close with Chris,
Yeah.
and then I quickly found out about you, and then my relationship with you, I think our relationship with you, but I can speak for Scotty as well, is like you're not just Chris's mom, you're just
No.
a different part of this family, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it all feels like
Yeah, and
family.
it was
So
interesting because because of course when he goes to shows or when I go to shows, like, oh, where's Chris? And it's just normal,
Yeah.
that people are going to
wait,
ask.
Chris still goes to shows? I haven't seen his punk ass in a
There,
minute here.
okay, stop. Chris has been doing life.
We
No,
love you,
Chris,
Chris. You can
no,
come back
Chris,
anytime.
no, thank you. Yes, come back anytime. But no,
Yeah,
Chris is
enjoy.
making
And
moves. He's got a new place he's going into on March. I'm super stoked for him for that. So,
Nice.
but yes, come
and
back.
I hope I hope the Goose shows have been everything that you've been hoping for. But during that final summer, right?
That's the one thing I love about brotherly love.
Yeah, he can give me shit. I can give him shit.
No.
He knows because I love him, right?
You know how many different times I
Um,
say I'm a boy mom?
Uh-huh.
so during that final summer, you let us know you guys would lay in bed and play songs for one another, and this is where you really started listening to STS9 a little bit more instead of
Yeah,
just hearing about them.
yeah,
So he said you said the first two songs he played first were "By the Morning Sun" and "Better Day."
yes.
Um, what did those songs mean in that room, and what is it about those songs that continues to resonate with you and bring comfort since then?
It was just so beautiful. And for him to play that, and like I said, it's kind of like for me to say, okay, me making them listening to John D. Laborto on echoes.org stuck. It was just so beautiful. And I just appreciated that. And he was like, well, if you like this, Mom, wait till you hear this one. So then he plays Better Day. But we would have these moments. Dominic would be out with the boys, and it was just Josh and myself just laying in bed, just talking about all different kinds of stuff, just really just about life and music and art and, whatever. And he shared those with me. And, the morning that he flew away, um, the nurse came in and woke us up, and it was probably like about 5:30 or something like that. And she woke us up and she said, I think, he's ready to go. And so I got up and I immediately made some chamomile tea. And there were several songs that I played. Um, Bob Marley, Three Little Birds, Green Day, Time of Your Life, and By the Morning
Oh,
Oh,
Sun.
Jesus
So
Christ.
yeah, I know. So that's where it's just like, for me, it's just like, because Josh's first big concert that I let him go to was Green Day. It was actually
That's
the
that's
Warped
sick.
Tour. It was Jimmy Eat World, Green Day, and Blink 182. And Blink 182 at the time was so they were a lot hot.
Yeah.
But they were the thing right then.
Yeah.
It was on a school night. He was 10, and I was like, we can't stay for Blink 182 because I know they're going to play that curse song, and it's a school night. And we were
Uh-huh.
on a mission to get his T-shirt signed because, well, we didn't know we were going to get it signed, but we were manifesting that. And I remember when we went up to the merch table and he had saved us money for it. I said, Josh, what about that one? He says, no, Mom, it won't show the ink won't show up on that one. I'm gonna get the white one. And it was Billy Joe and Trey Cool. And what's the other guy's name?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Billy Joe.
Anyways, he ends up buying the white shirt. So we were watching Green Day on stage, and the guitar hand, he was like this Indian dude with these braids, but I saw him coming out helping Billy Joe on stage. And at the end of the show, I told Josh, I said, we can't stay for Blink. I said, because it's a school night. And I said, if you want to get your guitar signed by the band, we need to go ahead and go. And at the time at Oak Mountain, you could actually walk around there. Years later, they would close it off where you couldn't get back there. And we walked back there. And sure enough, the guy at, you said we're not supposed to cry.
You're fucking killing me over here.
But I mean, it just makes me so much happy. Like, there wasn't a time that I couldn't talk like this, but it's just like, this is just like the best moment ever. I mean, this music and just all the people and just being able to see so many shows with my sons and my nephews and my family. I mean, yeah. And I'm just a big, goof. But
Yeah, and I'm just a big softy, and
fair
I
enough.
was
You know what,
I was
Scotty? In all fairness, I probably, if I was on your end, I'd be doing the same thing. But this
man.
just brings me so much joy
And
to talk
that's
about him.
honestly what's getting me right now is just the radiance to which you're talking about it. You know, you know my story. You bought my son his high chair, like that. You know, I've got a 2 year old, and so
Yeah,
like I'm on the front end of this, and I whoo, I think about how much he means to me now, and I just I can't
yeah,
imagine the strength that is required for you to get to the point that you're at now. And I don't know, like I didn't crack until now, but you talking about his first concert, man. It's just so beautiful. I'm just so thankful that you're telling his
yeah.
story.
Well,
I've
it was a lot of fun. Sam's first one was corn, and he was 10.
what what was Chris's?
There was not really one with Chris. That stinks. I mean, I always took the kids when they were younger because I had my kids when I was young. I was 21 when I had Josh. I was 25. Yes, 25 when I had Chris, and then 26 when I had Sam. So anything we were doing, it was like local and like family
Sure,
friendly. So we had city
sure.
stages and all that kind of stuff. But I would probably say with Chris, it'd probably have to be at Switchfoot. And we were downtown
Mm.
at city stages. And of course, we ended up going backstage. And
Of
that was
course.
probably Chris's moment. In fact, they came back to Birmingham. And Chris was like, "Hey, mom, you want to go see, you want to go see them?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we ended up going and eating at, shoot, what's the name of that restaurant? Anyways, it was fabulous dinner, and we went and saw them, and they played it at Iron City in Birmingham, where STS9 has played a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, getting
So
back,
I
go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
No,
you
no,
go
no,
ahead.
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, and I know that's the first place that you saw them, and you never got to see a show with Josh.
No, I
Um, s-
didn't.
so it's 2014, which is a lot's changing with the band too, which is so
Yeah.
serendipitous, right?
Yes.
It's Alana's first time in Birmingham. It's your first show.
Mm.
It's the first time STS9's coming to Birmingham since Josh passed. Um, walking into that first show after he passed, what did it take for you to get into the venue, right? And who are some of the people that encourage you to go?
Right. Well, no, I mean, I knew that I was going. That was not, in fact, I had bought tickets for everybody. I bought tickets for Martin and Chris, and I bought tickets for a lot of people that night. And the sad part about it was, like I said, I was still grieving Josh. It was like about a year, because he passed in August the previous year. So I was still kind of grieving him and just not in a great headspace. But I knew I wanted to be there. And man, I remember waking up thinking, "Oh my God, how'd they get in the concert?" Mark was like, "I just gave her my last name." Okay. Because if you walk up to somebody and say Nguyen,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
That's
yeah, I think you know who she is. So of course, they got in, and I ended up showing up when, shoot, what was the song?
you
Actually,
talked about Shock Doctrine into
yes, that was what
2012,
I
yeah.
walked into with
Mhm.
Shock Doctrine, and that always makes me think of Justin. Shout out to Justin because there was a time in in Athens, in 2013 or 2012.
Which Justin?
Justin Pizza Pie. You
Oh, I know Justin. I know Justin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Justin Pizza Pie. Him and Claire, they stayed in
Mm-hmm.
Athens and they had Josh stay with him in 2013. I think it was in maybe
Cool.
April.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, where was I going with this? This
We
wine.
were talking
I
about
just got
your
wine.
you're all good. We were talking about we were talking about who got you to your first year, or like who just that first night. I mean,
Yeah, no,
walking in the
thank you.
building.
That was, I knew that he was going to be there. Of course, Martin was there. Chris was there. I don't recall if Stephen was there or not. I don't know if Sam went or not. But I knew I
And
had bought.
Steven, and I just want to give context to who some of these people are in your life. Steven's your nephew, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Dominic's
Okay.
sister, that's her son, and
Okay.
Chris and Stephen were always in Cousinville, as
Okay.
I call it.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Good place to
Mhm.
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what was after that night? And this is just a question I thought of. I don't have it written down. What is your takeaway walking out of that show? Um,
Like I said, at that time in 2014, I just wasn't in a good headspace, and it didn't resonate with me then.
Okay. Okay.
It just didn't. And I think that's just because of what was going on. I was happy to be there, and I felt very honored. But like I said, I wasn't in a good headspace. But the next year,
Yeah.
right. The next year, wait a minute. Hey, Dominic, come here. I told him, I said, you got to come in and make a cameo. No.
I.
Oh man. Hey, he does support my love. Anyways, wait, what was the question again? Oh yeah,
I,
2015.
I think before we go any further, but before we go any further,
Yeah.
let's talk about a year later, and that'll bring us to our first clip here. Let's start listening to some music because
Yeah,
I think
let's
this will
please
start.
do.
Yeah,
Go for it.
this will start.
Because we're in
Really.
like almost an hour now.
Yeah. No, let's listen.
This will stoke the fire of a lot of our conversations.
Yes, it sure will. I remember this like it was yesterday.
Honestly, same.
We had so many people come in and eat that night. I took the day off the day after.
It's so criminal how many tap-ins we cut off on the intro on this show, but
It's okay.
um,
No, it's just fun. I just remember like that whole night, and just it was just amazing. The whole show. I mean, y'all go listen to that show. I've shared that with several people in my circle because and I know it's a hometown throwdown, but it's so good.
no, from my perspective as well, that is one of the highlights of that 2015
Hmm.
fall
It's
tour.
on certain streaming platforms. It's like
Yes, no,
random.
yeah, right.
It's not on all of them for some reason, but it is randomly, I think, on either Spotify or Tidal, and there's a
Hmm.
reason for that. I mean,
Yes,
it is
it's a
fucking
good down.
excellent. Yeah.
Like I said, I just remember
They,
being
they,
there.
they
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, they don't just open any old show with slow call jamming to tap in.
That's what whenever y'all say slow or fast,
Not,
I'm like slow,
Uh,
motherfucker.
yeah. That's an easy answer,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
But I just love a call jam when you get the context of a tapping coming after because you get that. Tss, tss.
Yes.
Um, and you talk about another highlight as well from this show being one of the best Zacks of all time too. Right
Yes.
after Grizzly, he hits us with this.
What up, Birmingham? Welcome to the SDS9 concert.
It's like what?
Yeah.
So they were on some other shit this night, and like you talked about, like the first night didn't resonate with you. I mean, like that's an okay show. The funny enough, the night after was Halloween in Nashville. It's one of the best shows
Yes.
in the
God
history of the
Yes.
damn,
And
city.
was it
I think
really?
Chris
Holy
went to those
shit.
look. I was living
It,
vicariously through Chris, because there was
it, yeah, it was the night before that Nashville show, but then yeah, they come back the next year, and like this one really
Mhm.
resonates with you, and like yeah, there's no bias to that. I'm sure there
Right.
is, but even without any
So,
bias, you give
So,
the
I mean,
Hubble.
2015 was great. They had the
Yeah.
call line, the request
Hmm.
line. You could text picture. I mean, it was great.
so you were on the rail for this show?
I was the first half. I stepped back on the second.
Cool. Tell me about your first proper experience on the rail. What made you
I
want? What
remember
made you want to
walking
be like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the rail before, but not for
Sure.
them. And I was just like standing there because Tyler had on his tie dye onesie, and he'd borrowed my cape that night because I have a cape. Anyways, he was on the rail, and they started into Totem, and he started singing like the first intro into it. I remember I just looked up at him like, "What's going on?" And yes, and I was like, and then so many different moments like when the dust settles, we've had that conversation, about me thinking I can't go for that.
Mhm.
I can do. So I'm waiting for that.
I
Matchup.
the I started thinking about this on my drive home today about because we had this conversation in Atlanta last year. The
Yes.
Hall and Oates is one of those quiet sleepers for that SDS9 might fuck around and murder
No,
a
I'm
Hall and
sure they
Oates
let a
cover.
little. They're 50, dude. I know they are.
Yeah.
I'll be
Oh,
55 in March.
No, they could crush some Hall & Oates.
Sure
I
they
Can't Go
could.
For That would be a great song for them to
Thank
take
you.
on. I love that idea. All about it. Do it.
Yeah, but no, like Gina said, if anyone hasn't listened to this show, November 18th, 2015, this Call Jam into Tappin opener, Kabuki, Grizzly, Freak 2-3, Totem into Hubble, into Orbital, back into Hubble, Nautilus into Aimlessly. That's set
Mm.
one. What the
It
fuck?
made me
That's
go to
set
New
one.
Orleans.
That's
It
set
made me go to
one.
New Orleans, and I was off that day. Now I was supposed to open on the next day, but I called Rod. I said, Rod, I'm going to New Orleans. Can we
I,
switch? Because I was
I,
doing
Yeah,
retail
Rod.
management. I was the
I,
assistant general manager at Z Gallery.
yeah.
And
I would have made that same phone call at set break, but then set two. Really what into Four-Year Puma, Scheme Reprise, King Pharaoh's Tomb, Breathe In, When the Dust Settles, Ramona Namiglio,
yes,
Baraka Encore, which I know is Chris's
yep,
favorite, right? So,
yes, that Ramon.
um,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, that's honestly all I had to say about it. But that is, I'm glad you brought us back to that night
Yes,
because it was very special.
yeah. So that started
Um,
it. That
yep.
was the passion, and
So
I
so
got
that
it.
then you start traveling, right? So we get
Yes.
to 2016 is your first Red Rocks. Tell us about that.
That was a lot of fun. I had never been to Red Rocks, let alone to Colorado. And Josh had always wanted to go there. And of course, he wasn't able to go there. And so that was like one of those things like, we're going to go. And I knew I was going to go with the boys. Now, 2015, Chris actually got to go. And I remember he was talking about it. And so when they first announced it, I bought myself a ticket. Like I was going to
Yeah.
go. But like I said,
I'm still talking about Red Rocks 2015, so I get
yeah,
it.
no, and I wish I could have been there, but at that time, I could not be there. I always tell people like when you can't go to shows, you can't always be everywhere, and I have to tell myself, Junior can't always be everywhere. But I had bought tickets, and Chris had wanted to go, and I said, Chris, just so happens I actually bought them. I said, but I can't go, and some of Josh's friends that actually lived in Colorado, that's who Chris stayed with in 2015 and he got to go to Red Rocks, and it was
I
amazing
love
for
that.
him. And I love that for him because, I haven't been able to really do that stuff until like really now, because
Right.
like I said, I had them when I was young, so I did, what I was supposed to do. But yeah, he went to that in 2016 to be able to take the boys and also my nephew. He flew in, Stephen, and we had planned to because like I said, Josh always wanted to be there. So we took him to, I brought him there with us as Ashes. And we just had like the best moment there. And I guess Alana got wind of it and she ended up reaching out to me privately. And I haven't shared this with really anybody because I'm always sacred of that. Like I respect all
Sure.
of them, individually. And she invited us for us to come backstage. And I was like, well, when are we supposed to come? She's like, anytime you want to. And I was like, okay. So look, set break each night and they had like food and stuff. That was amazing. And for us to be,
Yo,
yeah.
that's crazy because me and Scotty have had fucking backstage creds at Red Rocks. I don't think either of us knew we could go back there during set break.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
think
that's that's news to
this was
me.
2016. I think things have changed possibly because they're like, look,
Okay,
we
good,
just need to have our
good.
time alone. But
Sure,
and
absolutely.
and during set break, I don't think they even came out. But man, the stuff that they had there, the fruit, all you could have a Canada Dries and
Oh,
the
the spread in that area is good,
yes,
always good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Good buffet in
And
it.
of
Yeah.
course, there was beer there, and the kids loved that. But I was drinking those Canada Dries like nobody's business. So, we ended up all there together, and it was just like it was just like the best moment. I mean, one I always say ever, but it's really not because there's so many other evers. I've had a lot of different evers, with my boys.
We deal in superlatives quite a bit here on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I think that's probably pretty normal with that. Yeah.
So before we get into this clip, Nate, I figured this is a good time to get a little to talk about Steven a little bit because you've said his name a few times and he recently passed. I did not have the pleasure of knowing Steven, but talk about, what Steven has meant to you in your journey with STS9 as well.
Just so many fun memories. Him and Chris and him were in Cousinville, um, just I mean, so much fun. Like the day that because Steven didn't fly in with us because he was coming from Atlanta. And he
Okay.
ended up, of course, meeting up with us. And once again, we stayed with one of Josh's friends. And he came with us because Alana, she was like, I'd like to give y'all backstage passes. And okay. She said, well, there's not a lot of people. I said, I think there ended up being what? Because it was Josh's friend, and then Chris, and then Sam, and then Steven. And she gave us all. I was like, that's so nice. And I was like, well, when are we supposed to, like I said, when are we supposed to, but forgive me, I'm getting lost in the moment.
No, just talking about Steven.
Yeah. But he ended up, so the day before when he flew in, he ended up running into Phipps. And there's this fun picture of him on the steps that I just love. And I can text it to y'all later. But he was just, he was just having his best time. And, like I said, we all stayed together. We ended up going backstage. I remember him eating the ice cream like, man, this is great. And I remember Josh's friend, and I can't remember his name at the moment. This happens. Y'all understand when y'all get in your 50s.
Oh, yeah.
Names. Yeah, it happens all the time.
No, it's already happened for
Jared,
me.
thank you. Ta-da! Jared, he was just like, he's like, Chris, you're not going to go backstage and have some of this ice cream? Man, that stuff is dank. And it was. Shout out to the ice cream guy, night 2.
So I to kind of intro us into this clip, Chris made a little post about Steven. I'm just gonna read it word for word because it walks us straight into this next clip. We lost one of the OGs this past week. He is someone who really impacted not only the community of who we are, but who I am as a fan of STS9. Steven Madden passed this past week, and we have a service for him in Atlanta if anyone can make it. Steven can tell you anything and everything about the band that we love. If you guys want to go to the service at the funeral home, and I believe the service has already happened at this point, right? Or has
it? Yeah, it had. Okay. Yeah, so many different times with Steven. But go ahead.
And then he said, if you want to help with expenses, there's a GoFundMe. GoFundMe's still up.
And you know what? Thank you to everybody. Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but thank you to everybody that did donate, because there were several people that did, and there were few people that also showed up to the service as well. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Yeah, it looks like they just hit it actually. So it's at 6,700 or the 6,500.
Did you say 6,700?
Yes.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Dude, Gena's so good at just finding the silver lining.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
My only ask is when you hear It's Amana, you think of him.
Thank you.
Let's listen to one.
Yes.
Without further ado.
Yeah.
One of the
Always
coolest
come up
moments
with
at Red
words
Rock.
to the songs. I'm like, right?
And the fact that that's Steven's favorite is all you got to know that this one
Right.
heady motherfucker. And I did have the chance to interact with Steven a little bit. And one of the things about him is he could pretty much tell you everything there was to know about anything in
Yes.
regards to Mayan mythology. And this is a strong with heavy Mayan influences. And something he
Mhm.
told me is that Itzamana was a significant deity in the Mayan mythology, but the name translates to lizard or iguana house. So that led me to understand that, hey, this is the STS9 version of the song The Lizards by Fish, right?
Okay.
Which is so revered, such a bust out, such a heady appearance. It's my second favorite song.
Well, thank you for
Um, it,
sharing.
and I will think of Steven now every time I hear
Thank
it.
you.
And I know that we're gonna get it in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well,
So
thank you. I'm here for that, man. It was just
yeah.
to hear that one right there. It was so beautiful. And
It was the first full It's a Mana in 13 years.
yes. Well, and I did not listen to it, even though I put it on on my sheet, my paper. I did not listen to it because I was like, I felt like I felt like that was going to be something like, yeah, we need to listen to this tonight, Gene. I'm like, okay, well, I'll listen together.
Together. Yeah. And I mean, reason pretty much a million out of why this weekend fucked and why me and Scotty are of the firm belief that, hey, if you didn't like Red Rocks 2016, it had nothing to do with the shows. It had everything to do with who pissed in your milk that morning. Like,
Right. Look, I was living my best life. All I knew is that I was on Red Rocks. I was with my sons. I was with my nephew. We had backstage passes. Jared was there, Josh's friend. He allowed us to stay at his house, and we were living in the moment. In fact, Chris, he did have on new jeans that night. So when he got his little patch, the thing they give you, his did fall off because they were new jeans. So FYI, anybody if y'all get backstage passes, if it's new clothes, don't try and put it on there. Put on whatever's old. So he lost it. But Jared was like, Chris, I'll just give you mine. We're like, okay, because it was just like, you need to go back there.
You couldn't have walked me into our next question. I've got it down here
Okay.
immediately following this clip. I do want to take a moment to talk about Chris, because
Okay.
he is one of my favorite people, and obviously you
He's such a
lost a
good
son.
soul.
Yeah, he's the best. But obviously you lost a son, but shortly after that you started this really cool chapter of traveling all around this country to see this band with your son, and that is just so rare and unique. And I don't know, just talk a little bit more about those early days and how healing and how important that was in this whole
Yeah.
process to you.
Yeah, thank you. It was so refreshing, like to be with him and then, be a Sam, with Sam as well. Chris and I think we probably have our personalities are probably a little bit more the same, whereas Sam and his dad are a little bit more the same, which not to say that either one's better than the other or anything, but I think we probably vibe more. But for sure, just to be able to be with both of them and experiencing these things and us doing these things together,
Hmm.
it was so amazing. And I probably would have been able to do more things with Sam, but Sam, he had a little, we ended up having our grandson Aiden, and then we also have Ava, which they're the light of our lives. So, he's more, with doing that because he can't do this other kind of stuff
Yeah,
because
I don't think I've ever met Sam.
yes, he'll be in Atlanta as well, and he
Cool.
he tends to he tends to stay back. But look, if you need somebody on your team, Sam's got
I love it. I
you.
love it. Yeah.
But he'll be there this weekend as well, both nights.
Nice.
Where were we going with this? Forgive me.
Traveling with Chris.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, we've been so many different places, and like I said, it was always a safety net for me to travel with the kids because I just that felt good to me and it felt
Hmm.
safe. And one of the things that STS9 has pushed me to do is like to like go outside of my box and meet people and like travel and do things like for myself, and also like do things to be a better person, with different things in my life. And so, I've been able to experience that, as well. But, to make these moments and have these moments, I mean, like, when they played in the cave, as soon as
Hmm.
they announced it, I was like, yeah, that we're staying at the smokehouse. Of course, now they've got those little cabins and you can camp and all that cool stuff. But I immediately went ahead and booked 2 rooms because Chris and Sam, they were going to have their own room. And then my best friend and I was going to introduce her because I'd been talking about it for several years, you know. And we've been friends for 30 years now. I met her when I was pregnant with Chris. Shout out, Laura. Love you very
Hmm.
much.
I imagine a lot of people that probably would never even come close to the vicinity of STS9 have heard of this band because of you. I
I
bet
love them, and
your STS9 family tree extends to places that most of ours could never reach. I think
no,
that's really
no,
cool.
that's not true though. Because I remember seeing y'all like when y'all were how you and because y'all were like, obviously I'm in my 50s, and one of the things that brought me out was Brian. Brian Blunt.
Right. Yeah.
Because I started seeing him, I was like, "Where'd you come from? Like, what you doing? Who are
Uh-huh.
you? You're my age."
Yeah.
Like I said, we eventually ended up meeting him, and I was like, "Okay, well, this is cool." And he was, I just to see other people in my age group, and be invited to do things and whatnot. And so that part has just been amazing. Just like it's led me to different people like Brooke and Jack and Jordan and Earl, and of course I knew Earl and Stephanie before I actually met Brooke and all of them. I knew of Earl, and I remember meeting his wife. Now I met her in Atlanta when they played the was it the New Year's Eve review shows or the do over from 21? Yes,
The Eastern.
yes. Hmm.
Yes.
So I met them
Um.
there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Shout out. No. Shout. I was just gonna say shout out Earl, our reigning Podular champion for
Yes.
for Jeopardy.
Jeopardy, yeah. Um, No, I think Scotty, and I brought my mom to shows, and she's 15 years or 15 years older than you are even.
Mhm.
But like, still, she's like, is there going to be anyone who's within like
Mhm.
earshot of my age? And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely, you're one of the first people I go to in my mind's eye. But Scotty talked about like the coaching tree, so to speak, of STS9
Yeah.
under your tutelage. And I think we mentioned it earlier. The first weekend that Scotty met you was in Asheville in 2019. And I think that's the first time I met you too. So
Mhm.
Asheville has been a place where
So wait, when did you and Gena meet? That's what I want to know.
I was there. It was Wave Spell 2018.
Okay, all right, let's go, Nate.
apparently
Still on her.
apparently we became friends on Facebook Aspen 2018,
We all
but
did.
neither of us remember meeting each other that night.
Fair enough.
But I figured let's go back to that weekend. It was my 100 show weekend. It was Gina's birthday weekend.
Yeah.
It was when me and Scotty met you.
I
And
had on
there's been
overalls and a tie-dye t-shirt. I remember it like yesterday. I got a
And a-
picture of me and Gena.
And a big ass
and-
fan.
and you sent us this is one of the clips that you wanted to cover, and man, were you right. So
Thanks.
come on.
Son, this is fucking dumb.
so good.
God, fuck.
You're welcome.
Oh God, the things that Gob Nugget does to my
Yes,
soul.
it does. That is the one regret that I do not have a Gob Nugget t-shirt. I have a Gob Nugget hat.
I
Should have
mean,
got one of those hoodies in California, in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yo, I think we found. We've been talking about the last full Gob Nugget. I think that was it.
yeah.
And because we've talked about the one being from Aspen that year, but I think we've had it twisted, Scotty. Taking a look at soundtrap.us, none of them after this makes sense that they were the full one. And
Right.
this is with the full ending. And I know that they've replaced that ending with like a drum and bass jam, but like, bro, you just heard them do both. Like,
Yeah.
and there's people that listen to this every week that didn't start seeing the band until after this. So like, here's what they need to understand is when I'm putting unfinished on a set list as a note next to Gob Nugget, that fucking is why. Because it's not the same as that. Like
Also, Potamus is also a good one to do too, as well. What was that? The third night.
that Gob Nugget came out of Potamus for
Yes.
sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
What night of this run was this? Read
This
the
was
set
night.
list.
This was night 3. So you had the this was 2019. So right in your wheelhouse, Scotty. The modular Blue Mood opener into Wilder, and then back into Blue Mood, Tokyo into Biggs into Poseidon. Holy shit!
Like, come on,
Tiberius
bro.
on the ones and twos.
You already got your money's worth.
Totem Circus Set
Wait,
2
Actually,
2012.
there was one video from that night that I like super love, and it's Tiberius, and I forgot what the song was that was playing. Shoot, I'm gonna have to go back and look at this. Wait a minute, y'all
That,
go.
Set
stage. Go ahead.
No, no, y'all go ahead.
2012 into Potamus into Gob Nugget. Nasty Potamus kind of started like a modular Potamus too. 13 to 14 minute Click Lang Echo. Arigato into Call Jam into Grow. Jesus Christ. And then Encore was Spending Time into Breathe In. Yeah, this was night 3. I remember this clear as day. Thank you for bringing this back there, Gina. This goes
that was an amazing show. That was kind of a wild weekend for us. But anywho, y'all carry on. You know how that happens sometimes.
No. I think that feeds into, like in the years following, right? At what point did you start to realize that you were kind of building an extended family other than with Josh, other than with Chris, other than with Steven, other than with Martin within the community?
Sure. I guess probably I started to branch out. Maybe was it 2022 or 2023? I even have to look at myself because this is the fun thing about being in your 50s. You forget a lot of stuff. So I do have notes.
So this is Santa Cruz that I think you're about to talk about.
No, you're right, because I was supposed to stay with somebody and that didn't work out. And I had seen Brian. The first time I ever really recognized Brian was at Mardi Gras during New Orleans. Look, that Ramon and Emiglio with Chief Juan Pardo.
Yeah, I just sent that. I just sent that to somebody today. They were asking me, send me a good STS 9
and
song.
you know, immediately when we all hear Ramon Emiglio, who do we think of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Easy.
Like, dude, you need to be here for this. But it was so amazing. And I saw Brian. I remember thinking, okay, who's that mature gentleman that's up front, that wiser guy? And I was like, okay, well, this is cool. So we ended up meeting. And I was supposed to stay with somebody, and that didn't work out. And he was like, "Hey, Alex and I were flying into San Jose, yada yada yada. You want to meet us, yada yada yada." And I was like, "Okay, this is cool." So I ended up meeting them, and Brian got a rental car, so we all jumped in it. We immediately went to the Lotus dispensary because they had $50 swag bags. Shout out to that because that was amazing. I shared so many types of stuff with a lot of people that night. um, but
Yeah, you
they
did. I
had
was
it.
one of them.
Yeah, I remember that night because you and Jen, I remember y'all saying we're going backstage. I was like, okay, well, good for y'all. Go for that. um,
That was Gina's 100th show, actually. Yeah.
yes, that's right. You're exactly right. It was my 50th. And that was when
Wow.
night one was at my 50th. And that's when I quit counting. I was like, I'm not doing this stuff anymore. This is just, and I love that for y'all. Y'all do that.
Well,
Mhm.
that's really cool. I feel like something because my 50th show was the day that I met Nate, and I
When was
don't.
that?
That was Aspen 2018, and
Uh-huh.
I feel like something happens around that number where you kind of come you come to STS9 with the people you come with, and you've got your own kind of crew, and it's somewhere between 30 and 50. I feel like you kind of start to establish yourself as like
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
reaching out and
analogy. Wait, look.
analogy.
Yeah, thank you.
And you start to kind of find your people within the community that maybe you didn't
Sure.
come with.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think that's so cool that happened to you on your first time riding solo without kind of your
Yeah.
typical group. Uh, would the 2012 version of you even believe that you were doing any of this? I mean, how
No,
far outside of
no,
your
no,
comfort zone are you at that
no,
point?
not at all. In fact, before I went to Santa Cruz, we have this local artist, which I love. And I was like, and I knew that she did henna. So when I knew that I was definitely going to Santa Cruz, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm going to have some henna." So I went and sat down in her chair, and she did like the most beautiful henna. And it lasted for a week. In fact, I remember being in Santa Cruz. Everybody's like, "Who did your henna? Did you get that on the boardwalk?" No, I got that in Birmingham, Alabama, bitches. um, but yeah, it was just so much fun. And then for the dispensary to be called the Lotus Dispensary. And so when I flew in on August the 4th, that's my dad's birthday. Shout out Manuel. Um, but I flew in that day and it was his birthday. And then one of the swag bags that they had it was called Camino. And when I was in high school, my dad had an El Camino. And I still have those glasses. In fact, whenever we go to a song listen, I'll run back there and go get them because I keep them in my concert bag. And because if I'm going to be up front, I want to have on sunglasses, obviously for the lights, because I don't never know where I'm going to be or you know um, so I still have those. And I was just like, okay, this is a wink from my dad, just saying, hey, it's my birthday and you're listening to music and you're in Santa Cruz. And, I mean, it was just I just let go and didn't, because before I always used to be like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, and so SCS9 has pushed me to do stuff that I normally wouldn't do. And they've also inspired me to like be a better person, change this about myself, do this about myself, And so for that, I appreciate them. I appreciate y'all for the podcast. Because when y'all said that y'all were going to start it, I was like, this is going to be some amazing nerd SES9 stuff, And
Yep.
so, yeah. So that was for me, that was a changing point when I went with them. Cause I was just going off of, like vibe. Like, okay, let's, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Santa Cruz was amazing. We had the best time. We've stayed with each other several different times since then. And we've all stayed together as a group because in 2023, I met Brooke and Jack, and I also met Jacqueline. Jacqueline's like, Gina, I haven't met you yet, and I'd like to meet you. And she came up to me, Jacqueline and Bobby. Um,
I don't know
Hmm.
if I do.
uh, What are their last names? Anywho's.
Oh, shout out Jack and Bobby.
Yes. So I met them and, I knew Jack and Brooke. And so we all stayed together. There's been so many several, different things. I met Kenny and his wife, Jordan, and Marty. I met Marty at Resonate in 2024 and got to hang.
So
I knew
yeah, I
him.
mean, you kind of
Yes,
you kind of take off from Santa Cruz
for
and
sure.
really start establishing yourself from there.
Well,
Mhm.
just kind of just letting myself go and
Yeah.
and just going from that. But
Well,
go
yeah,
ahead.
we've talked about you branching out and creating kind of a new community and family for yourself, but like, hey, let's get back to your household, right? Like we haven't
Right.
talked about Josh or Chris or Sam's dad yet, right?
Mr. Lynn.
Who is a cut from a different cloth than you and your sons, I would say.
Yes.
Um, you
Well,
share
Mr. Wynn's
you
hobby is drag racing. And do I go to
hey.
more drag racing events than he comes to music events? I do. But
Good. Hell yeah. Um but I think a common theme here has been like noticing little messages that you may not have noticed before, right?
sure.
Um you were able to bring your husband to his first show at the Eastern in 2023 for New Year's, and
Yes.
I'm lucky enough to meet him as well and saw you guys there.
Thank you.
And you shared a story about when you on the balcony at the hotel when you checked in.
Yes.
So I'd love for you to tell that story and then have
Yeah.
that lead us into our next clip.
Okay. Because that was amazing. The song's amazing that we've all agreed upon. But so that day we actually celebrated. His mom was turning, I believe, 93 that day. But we were at his brother's house in Lawrenceville. We'd had a party. We all celebrated. It was so great. It was such a beautiful time. And I had convinced him to come to the New Year's Eve show. So I booked us a room in downtown in Atlanta. We had I always want to have outside space for me because outside space is kind of like freeing, and I'm able to chill. So we had our balcony. So when we got there, we got all checked in and everything, and it was great. We ended up actually, we could see the Ferris wheel, which we rode. I had never
Love it.
ridden it before. That was a bucket
I
list
still
item.
haven't.
Well, you should. Just so you know, it's $8 a twirl, and it's three
Oh,
three twirls.
okay.
Um, but anywho's, so I made us some coffee. I was like, hey, honey, you want some coffee? And he was like, yeah. So I made us both a cup of coffee. I said, let's go on the balcony and sit there. And we come and we sit down, and I look up, and I was like, holy shit! I looked at him. I said, that's a "You Are Beautiful" sticker. So, these iridescent "You Are Beautiful" stickers that I'm sure y'all have all received one at one point in time in a show,
Sure.
because I have. Um, but it was like on the balcony. And so Josh, we have him cremated, but we have a little place that he stays at next to the Catholic Church in Birmingham, and we'll go and visit him. So every time I go and visit him, I always put one of those "You Are Beautiful" stickers on there,
Wow.
and I always burn Nag Champa because he loves some Nag Champa. What's funny is Mr. Wynn, he used to complain, what is that shit he's burning in a house? And now when he smells Nag Champa, he respects it and appreciates it. Go, Josh. But I always burn that, and so like when I looked up, I said, Dominic, I said, do you see that sticker right there? I was like, what? We were about to have some good time. And so we were in ADA because Mr. Wynn, he had knee or ankle surgery a few years ago. So we were sitting there, but I knew I was just going to be getting down because y'all know me. If I'm at a show, I'm going to be twirling. I got my tennis shoes on. I'm getting down, either it's my Adidas or my On Clouds, and I'm just, and my fans.
Sponsor her.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Thanks, Nate.
I'm
um,
just here to
no,
make
thank
deals
you.
happen. Yeah.
But I got to just dance all around him and just like live in that moment. And Martin was there with us. He came to the show, of course. Shout out to Martin. And so it was kind of nice because my husband being there for the first time, and then Martin shows up, and it just like gives him this like reassurance, like, okay, Martin's here.
Oh, for
I'm like,
sure.
oh,
Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing. Like when I brought my mom to her first show, my sister had already come to like 6 shows with me, and like that makes it that much easier to bring like a family member who
Sure.
is brand new to this and
Yeah.
knows that like someone that they fucks with this too, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That there's something to it, right?
Mhm.
There's a deeper level to it. Um, like you said, let's go back to that night. You have a carefully selected clip for us here as well, which,
I do.
man, Scotty, buckle up for this one too. Good God.
I was dancing all the way around Mexico. It was so much fun.
Go, Jeffrey. Go, Jeffrey.
Burn Jeffrey up.
honor.
And it's so good.
Hard World firing off, bro.
I'm grabbing my set list. This is always the feel good moment.
This is the best moment of my life every time it
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
I'm named my fucking dog after this moment.
Yes. So Mr. Nguyen and I were on date night that night. Just saying.
I could do that all night with you guys.
Yes, thank you. Right? Thank you,
Cri-
guys. Thank you so much. This
Gina,
is so much
I fuck with
fun.
you so hard. You have forced us to play 2 out of my top 3 songs, and
Well,
and
that's
those.
what whenever I'm at shows, this is a face that I have, and it could be STS9, it could be whoever, whatever type of live music. Live music for me is like just food for the soul and the mind, and I just love it. So, look, STS9, all the artists, visual artists, whoever, and I've met so many beautiful people, and artists through STS9 as well. Thank you so much because I so appreciate it.
I love that. So this is jumping a little bit, but the last question I had just feels like it's appropriate after you said that. When those lights go down and those first notes hit at an STS9 show, who are you in that moment?
I mean, it's just like it just feels so good. It like my heart, my mind, and my soul, it just feels so good. Yeah. And it's funny because it's like I told my general manager at work, I was like, I'm gonna be on a podcast tonight. He was like, oh really? He's like, what's it about? I said, music, SGS9. He was like, I love that for you, So because they know how much music means to me and art. And so it does. It just fills my soul. Yeah, it's thank
I
you.
love it. Of course. Of course.
If Josh could see you now, how proud he would be. Rail riding, manifesting encores, organizing cakes for band members' birthdays.
For fans'
What do you think
birthdays.
he'd? No, for David Phipps'
Oh
birthday.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. What do you think he'd say?
That was the one. I've always been like the type of person that just help other people out and just do what you can. If you can do it, do it. And he was always like that. All of my boys are like that. Chris is like that. Sam is like that. So like at work, we have it's called Employee of the Month, and they'll order food for all of us. And so somebody gets Employee of the Month, and they get the front parking spot, and it's part of our culture, where I work. And Sam, he'll end up there's leftover food, so he'll take it to the Jimmy Hill mission. And Chris is the same way. Both of them have like loving and giving hearts. And I think if anything, as a mom and a parent, that's something I can see in all of my kids. I'm grateful, and I love that. So yeah.
I love that too. I love that
Yeah.
too. And we are so grateful for you. So we do have one more clip. The most recent time I saw you was from your 5 night. It was from the 5 night Colorado run that we
Yes.
that we just did. And you made a comment that Atlas is your new favorite song.
Yes, it sure fucking is.
So, well, I do have a question about that, but before we do, again, thank you, because I really wanted to play that Atlas, and
Man,
and
when
I
y'all
mean,
play that, when I was listening to CTs, and shout out CT, man, you really,
Yep.
I'm just a big goofball, but I was like listening to your stream. I was like, man, this whole interview is amazing.
she was
And,
great.
the fact I didn't even know that she was in the band, like she played in a band in high school. I'm like, because look, I always wanted to be in the band. Do I have a tambourine? Could I grab it right now and show y'all? I could. But
no,
the fact,
I mean, we had a lot of work to do, the three of us, breaking down those 4 nights, and so some stuff got left on the cutting room floor. So I think both me and Scotty are pumped that you're bringing us back to that night, so we could take a listen to this. So
Thank you.
We'll get into it and discuss it.
Absolutely. I remember I went by the sound of I didn't want to get fun. I thought I was good.
Hope you guys are ready for the 15+ minute atlas that is coming quite this year. That sounds like a whole lot.
Look,
Like
I've listened to that song 11 million different times, and every time I'm just like, because that's the one cool thing about my job that I do. I can come in the morning, like I put my music on, and I listen to a different variety of stuff. But definitely since I got back from Colorado, I've listened to Night One at Belly Up a lot.
What is it about Atlas that resonates with you so much?
I don't know. It's just like this. It's just like you know, and you just get that going part of it. It just makes me feel so motivated in the moment.
Yeah, it's
Whether it
a
be
melody that gives it's a melody
yeah.
it's a melody you can find strength in,
Yes,
honestly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Well said, Nate.
Wow, that is extremely well said. I love Atlas.
Yes.
I've never understood I've never understood the issue with it.
I didn't know there was one.
I
I just
yeah,
knew I'm sure I've probably heard it before and didn't understand it.
uh,
But look, I got it now.
a lot of people
it's
are not fans of it.
Well, good for them.
It's never sounded like that. To their defense, they have
Fair enough.
they started they fake brought it back in Aspen in 2015, and then it
Hmm.
didn't see the light of day until post COVID and Resonate. And I remember
Hmm.
hearing it at Resonate, and it was a complete afterthought. No one was like talking about or
Hmm.
asking for an
Well,
atlas.
right,
But
exactly. And I didn't really know really about it or didn't remember it until this show.
and they finished playing it that night, and I was like, "Who? Hold on, we might
Yeah,
have
right.
something there." That's
Listen,
crazy. And
I was by the soundboard. I had my whole little dance space. There was a whole area next to me. If I needed to sit down, they allowed me to do that. Shout out Aaron, thank you. But I just like got down and like in that moment, it was just like it just felt so good and it felt warm and it felt safe.
here's the trajectory it's taking and following. It's kind of following the same trajectory that Tooth took, I think,
Ah,
3 or 4 years ago,
Hmm.
because it got another at bat after they brought it back in at Resonate at Red
Hmm.
Rocks, which was strong as well, and then another, I think, prudent at bat at um, Halloween 2024 in Austin, and
Okay.
then it kind of those three versions. It sounded really similar. The three we saw in 2024, didn't see one in 2025. See this one
Hmm.
in 2026, and they just continue to fill the cracks of it. I think
Yeah. Well,
it just
look,
sounds
the cracks are
more.
filled.
Yeah, it's sounding more and more full to me.
Hmm.
And I think it could be a big year for this song.
Yeah, like I said,
And yeah.
and it wasn't like a standout. Like I really didn't know about Atlas until this past run.
I'm gonna
Listen.
look at the camera when I say this. Do it again in Atlanta. Do it
I'm
again.
for it.
I bet you won't. Hey, Alana, I bet you won't. I bet you won't do it. I
Look,
bet you won't.
her walking out in that sparkly outfit and those boots
And
on
that
at
for dates.
look,
Okay, we didn't talk about I don't think we talked about it last week, so we can talk about it real quick. The pop that she got in that dress from the
yes,
crowd
ma'am,
when she
Pam.
walked out was unreal. And there was probably two or three other moments throughout the night where she would take this like one little step forward and
Uh-huh.
kind of like look at the crowd, and every time she would move at all, the whole crowd would just dude,
Because
that
when she
Wow.
came
dress.
out, me and Mandy, because like I said, Mandy, I had that. Okay, so originally Tyler and I were supposed to be in Colorado and meet up with Aaron, or not Aaron, forgive me, Alex and Brian, and of course we ended up seeing BP and his son stayed with us, and that was great.
Mhm.
But Tyler, he had a work commitment, and he's got so many different businesses, and he's such a boss he ended up having to dip out. So I was just like, there was that one moment I was like, am I like not doing this? And I was like, no, you're not, Gina. You're gonna do and I did.
You talking about the
Um,
whole run?
I did, yes.
Oh, I'm so glad you ended up
Yeah,
doing
and
that. That
no, look, you know how just there's different stuff like you have happen in life. You just got to pivot and like like put up
uh-huh.
a thing and do this or do that to get there. And it ended up being, like I said, amazing trip. Um, where am I going with this?
We were just talking about Alana's
Forgive
dress
me,
and
Nate. I feel
and
so bad
rambling.
for y'all guys because I've just like gotten a moment and I'm just so giddy and so excited and
No, no, no. I'm really happy for you guys. Glad you guys got to experience that. Yeah, so happy for you. Yeah. No, hey, listen. I think that's as good as time ever
look, look,
to wrap this up,
listen.
honestly. But
Watching Hunter
um,
take off his shirt
Gina,
and
thank you.
swing that around.
Hey, no, hold on. I do have one more thing.
Yes.
Gina reminded me that we did not have a this or that prepared for you, but I did quickly run through a couple just because I know you're such a fan of the show. We'll run through a few real quick. We know the answer, but I'm gonna hit you with it anyway because it's kind of an iconic first question. Fast or slow call, Jim?
Me? But
Fast or slow
look,
call, Jim?
I already said that at the
I
beginning.
know,
No,
I
slow
know.
all
Slow.
day long, y'all.
Tabby or Eastern?
Wait, say it again.
Tabernacle or the Eastern?
The Eastern AC is
I agree.
bomb.
I agree. Breathe in or Baraka?
Baraka.
Aimlessly or Arigato?
I'm all about some arigato,
Okay.
motherfucker.
Okay. Zach or Jeffrey?
Shoot, that's look. I mean, wait a minute. Do I keep it on the top of my refrigerator because you never know when you're going to need it? I bought this at Bailey Brothers, and I took all three of the brothers. Bailey Brothers is now closed on South Side. It was on 20th Street, but my brother, who was in high school, and Alan is 40. Wait a minute, how old am I? No, I'm going to be 50. Okay, so his birthday is March 7th. Mine is March 10th. He is going to be. I'm going to be 55. He's going to be 41. But in high school, he took guitar, so he would always come over to my house on the weekends, and wherever we went on spring break, I took Alan with us, and so we would.
So it's Jeffrey. So your answer is Jeffrey.
Yes, no, okay.
I
It's
mean,
both of them.
you're
Percussion
holding a
and drums go
tambourine.
hand in hand.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I didn't want to. I didn't want to rob you of your this or that experience. So I wanted to make sure to get that in before we closed. Gina, thank you so much. I mean, this was everything we wanted it to be and more. You were just so radiant, so charming. We are
Now,
so
look,
so thankful to have
for
you in
y'all
this
putting up for
community.
me because this stuff gets me so excited, and I get so giddy, and I get a little bit goofy, But it's just because I've always loved music and art, visual art, and I always support like my local artists and our local shops and so yeah, thank you. Yeah, I
um,
appreciate y'all.
echoing
I
Scotty.
could
Not
stay
that.
on because here's the thing. I'm a boss because I know that I gotta be at work at 8 and I'm gonna be there. And so like to live in the moment, this is a live every day moment, just so y'all know. I
Mm,
had one of my coworkers correct me and said, Gina, it's not a YOLO. You live every day, you only die once. I was like, you know what? You are exactly right. So I
hmm
feel like I need to take y'all on because it's 10:22 our time. I think I feel like I need to keep y'all till like 11:12 our time. And just
Well,
nerd out and y'all tell me like your favorite shows and what. Of
we could do that off air because we talk about that shit every fucking week.
course,
But
I know you've got to do the
Editing and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
And
Well,
I was
hey, it's gonna take a while for the recording to process. So I'm down to hang out for a second, but um, I
thank you.
I want to take a second while we're on air to thank you to Gina, not just for tonight, but for the way you light up uh not just a room or wherever you are and bring positivity into it and are able to bring a smile to my face and are able to make me feel like I'm surrounded by family. I feel that from you as well.
Yeah.
So,
Y'all know everybody, and my boys know I've got them always.
mhm.
And
You don't
all of us, and I respect y'all and appreciate y'all just as much because you know their music and just what they've brought to me and our family has definitely helped, in moving on and like finding our new normal, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
and
I
sure.
Yeah, it's just so powerful. I mean, your story is so powerful. Like Nate said, I mean, you radiate this warm, comforting safety,
well,
and
thank you. Because
you know,
a lot of times, I think it's human nature. We second guess ourselves. And
yeah.
so to hear y'all say that, I appreciate that. I do. Yeah, I appreciate
Well,
that.
we are excited to see you in a couple of weeks, and thank you
Mm.
again for joining us. Nate, you want to take
Hey,
us
and
out?
just so y'all know, before we close out,
Yep.
Josh did get his shirt signed by Green Day that night. So when we
Hell
walked
yeah.
back there was a fence, and there was the Indian dude who was Billy Joe's guitar assistant. And Josh was like, "Excuse me, sir." He's like, "Can I get my shirt signed by the band?" Look, Josh hands him his white T-shirt that's got just their pictures on it, and I've got it somewhere. I've got it put up. And the guitar assistant takes it, and he comes back, and he's got it all three signed by
Wow.
yeah,
Good. Hey,
adult small.
good guy guitar techs at this point. But
Yeah.
uh
So thank you guys. All right, I'm
yes.
gonna cut out. It's 10:25.
Gina, thank you for joining us. Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Throw us a like, throw us a subscribe, throw us a comment or review if you're feeling nice. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week to get you guys ready for the beginning of the East Coast run here. Until
For
then,
sure. I'll be there. You'll be there. You'll be there.
yes. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Love
Chess
you, Gina.
Pats.
Thank you guys.